If you've been scrolling through endless microscope listings, watching video after video trying to decide which model actually lives up to the hype, you're not alone. The moment you think you've narrowed it down, a new spec pops up and you end up more confused than when you started. That's the exact spot where this review steps in. It's meant to cut through the noise and tell you whether the OMAX M83MPTR 402000X Infinity Trinocular Polarizing Metallurgical Microscope is worth the money, or if you'd be better off putting that cash towards something else. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the kind of work this instrument is built for. Metallurgical microscopy isn't about looking at living cells or taking snapshots of distant galaxies, it's about scrutinizing metal structures, grain boundaries, fracture surfaces, and heat-treated components. In a typical lab, you might be pulling a sample from a heat treatment furnace, mounting it on a slide, and then trying to see whether the grain size matches the spec sheet. In a field setting, you could be on a shop floor with a portable stand, inspecting a weld seam for cracks before a critical part goes into service. The OMAX M83MPTR promises a magnification range from 40x up to a staggering 2000x, plus a trinocular head that lets you hook up a camera while still viewing through the eyepieces. Those are the headline numbers, but the real question is how they translate into everyday usability. If you're a professional metallurgist, a quality control engineer, or a hobbyist who actually does metal analysis on a regular basis, the M83MPTR hits a sweet spot. The wide magnification range means you can start with a quick low-power survey, perfect for locating areas of interest on a large sample, and then dial into a high-power view without swapping objectives. That continuity saves time, especially when you're working with dozens of samples per day. The trinocular head also solves a common pain point. You can keep your eyes on the material while the camera records the same field of view, which is a lifesaver when you need to document findings for a report or for a client presentation. The fact that OMAX includes a reflected light condenser out of the box is another practical win. You won't have to hunt for an add-on to illuminate opaque metal surfaces, and the polarizing filter helps reduce glare from highly reflective samples, something that can make or break the visibility of fine grain structures. On the flip side, the microscope isn't a universal solution. If you're primarily interested in biological samples or need fluorescence capabilities, you'll be disappointed. The reflected light setup is optimized for opaque materials, and there's no provision for transmitted light, so it simply isn't versatile enough for dual-purpose labs. Likewise, the focus mechanism, while smooth, can feel a bit finicky at the highest magnifications. At 2000x, even the slightest vibration or a minute shift in the stage can throw the image out of focus, meaning you need a very stable bench or an anti-vibration table, an extra expense that many hobbyists don't plan for. The nosepiece, which holds the objective lenses, is sturdy but not interchangeable with third-party OMAX lenses, so you're essentially locked into the set that comes with the unit. If you ever want to upgrade to a high numeric aperture objective, you'll have to buy a whole new OMAX system. Another practical consideration is the learning curve around polarizing microscopy. The polarizer sits in the light path and you have to rotate it to achieve the best contrast on metallic samples. New users often spend a good half hour just figuring out the right angle for a particular alloy. That's not a deal breaker, but it does mean you should budget some time for training before you start producing data for compliance reports. The included 5-year warranty against manufacturing defects does give peace of mind, yet it only covers defects, not wear and tear from frequent handling. If you plan to move the microscope between a bench and a portable stand, be prepared for the occasional need to realign the optics. Now, who should walk away from this review with a buy in mind? If you run a small to medium-sized metallurgical lab, need a reliable workhorse for routine grain size analysis, fracture inspection, or surface coating evaluation, the M83MPTR gives you a solid blend of magnification, imaging, and illumination without forcing you to buy a separate camera system. The trinocular head alone saves you the cost of a separate photomicrography rig, and the included polarizer tackles the glare issue that many entry-level microscopes ignore. For educators teaching material science courses, the ability to show live views to a class while recording the same field for later review is a compelling teaching tool. Conversely, if your workflow is primarily oriented toward biological microscopy, or you need high-resolution phase contrast or differential interference contrast capabilities, you'll end up spending extra money on adapters or even a completely different microscope. The same goes for users who expect a plug-and-play camera experience. You'll still need to purchase a compatible camera and possibly a capture card, which adds to the total cost. And if you're a casual hobbyist who